So here's why Cassie Ventura matters to the prosecution in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Was she a willing participant in the freak-offs? If the answer is yes, the case falls away. If the answer is no, then that is what informs the trafficking charge, okay? So Cassie was back on the stand. The prosecution is trying to prove that there was no consent, okay? Cassie continued to describe in detail the assaults that she endured at the hands of Combs. Why is that important? Well, one, it's not a good look for Combs, but two, because if she was afraid, that informs her ability to consent, okay? She says she was raped by him in 2018, claimed Combs even blackmailed her, threatening to release some of the freak-off videos. The jury was once again shown more of that surveillance video that we've all seen, and that the point was that Cassie endured even more than what you had previously seen. We learned that after she left, Diddy repeatedly texted Cassie, "Call me. Yo, please call me. I got 6 kids. The cops are here. You're going to abandon me all alone." Cassie responded, "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You're sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me." Tomorrow, the defense is expected to begin the cross. Where's the space for them and what was established today? Let's bring back Misty Marris and Sarah Azari, both of them expert attorneys who are very familiar with the case. On the prosecution side, Misty Marris, did the prosecution chop some wood today?
Yeah, Chris, if yesterday was about laying out the freak-offs, today was about talking the violence. What did the jury hear and see? Pictures of a bloody gash on her forehead, bruises, a black eye, a fat lip. They also heard a story about how he stomped her head for 10 minutes in an SUV. She wanted to go home and see her mother. He wouldn't let her. And they closed the loop on the issue of force, fraud, and coercion. She said, "I knew what he was capable of. I knew he had guns. I was afraid to leave. I was afraid because I knew what he would do." And so once you see this pattern of violence made all the more believable by the existence of that video, I think the prosecution laid their foundation to establish that critical element.
I have to say a couple of things. One, Sarah Azari is a huge victims' rights advocate in her own work. To see her impassive look on her face because she knows she has to represent the defense side of this is a real professional treat, to watch her pretend like she doesn't care about any of this testimony because she's representing the defense side. And the only reason I wasn't laughing during it was I was thinking, she put those dogs in my office again? So, Sarah, where is the space for the defense if the jury is feeling the narrative that this guy did bad things to her, he threatened bad things, and she knew she couldn't say no?
Well, look, Chris, this is not a domestic violence case, right? This is a sex trafficking RICO case, and to the extent that consent matters, it's because it, for the sex trafficking. But here's the deal: even the most powerful accuser, the most powerful witness, can unravel on cross-examination. She was extremely powerful in her testimony. She was very secure in her testimony. But the defense needs to now shift from just focusing on consent to autonomy and independence, right? Because consent against the backdrop of violence and intimidation, I mean, who cares, right? So there needs to be a shift, and that may be why the defense mentioned today that they need to rethink their strategy. But I also want to say there is space here. The defense can come in on that money grab issue that, she brought out in her testimony. She was very good about admitting cheating and having to burn her phone and why she did that. She was very good about saying, I wrote this book and then I offered to sell the rights for $30 million because I wanted him to know what he had done was bad. There was a little undertone of revenge there. And I think the defense needs to come in and say, wait a second. So then you sued him after that got rejected, and you settled for $20 million. Is this really about the shame now, about what you had done consensually out of your own choice back then? Or was this really a cathartic healing experience writing this book? The defense has a lot of space. There's text messages. There's witnesses. She's named a lot of people that I think might come in as witnesses to impeach her.
The pictures of the freak-off that were shown in there, What do they do for the jury? Is that what it is? Is it just clutching your pearls?
Well,
Is that why they work?
I think it's more than that. Of course, we don't see them, Chris, so we can't really understand what the jury saw, and that's because they're so explicit and they're so sensitive. What we do know is that it was reported that at least 2 jurors had visceral reactions to seeing those photos. But the shock value, I've always said if the prosecution was going to lose this case, they lose sight of the legal elements and they focus on shock value and pearl clutching. But why those photos are so incredibly important, it lays out the cast of characters. Cassie just named all of the escorts that were in each one of those photos, just like, oh, that's this guy, that's this guy. And the jury is understanding the link between the freak-offs and the violence, which is the critical element for the prosecution, and that's why they're being used in that way.
And I also think it's just corroboration of her testimony. You know, there was also photos of bruising, which she testified to, and that violence that caused the bruising. So you know, she's corroborated on direct, but let's see what happens on cross.
I got to tell you, you know, the photos, I would bet that Dusty would run through all kinds of fire to get those photos and show them. I think it's just a sign of my age. I don't even want to see them. I really don't. I don't even want to see them. I hope they're instructive for the case, but I know people are just dying for more access to the freak-offs. I'm not feeling it. I'm just not. I'm following this case because I wasn't blown away by the indictment. I really didn't like what I saw with the FBI going into his house and how they made such a pageant out of it. And I want to see if they can put meat on the bones. Misty and Sarah, you guys are perfect for this. Thank you very much for helping the audience understand where we are. This is not a simple case. Thank you very much. 4 minutes and 15 seconds.